Really? Yeah. What form of art do you believe can cause the greatest impact in shifting the ideas of race relations? What I believe is like really like abstract art because it like has a lot of diversity between it.
That's good. I like that.
Say a little more about that. That's interesting.
Right. I know. That's what
I know, like you just dropped that bomb and walked away, homie.
Hey, wait
Say,
now.
smile less, say more, man. Go.
KJ, oh my, that was kind of deep. I want to know more too.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
KJ, listen, don't drop answers so deep that the other panelists can't keep up with you. Okay?
Actually, that's kind of the secret to success right there. You just say something really profound and walk away.
Yeah.
Right.
Mic drop.
Right. KJ,
Hey, look, dude, I said what I said.
I said what I
Go
said.
debate amongst yourselves.
I did like that answer though.
Right, that was a dope
What you made me, KJ, what you made me think of instantly, my favorite artist movement, it's a movement of art history, surrealism. So much to say, so much to say to the point where it's easily interpreted by different people and everybody can appreciate it. And there's a statement, there's a lot of surrealism that is about the time period that was in and communicates. But you look at it and you get a different response no matter who's seeing it, you know. So that's, yeah, abstract in that sense. I would say I agree with you. That is a powerful medium of art.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think the form of art that causes the greatest impact is going to be that form of art that the most people engage with. A lot of times we tend to have a very narrow idea of what makes art or what art is, but you know, in the last century, in the last 100 years, art has evolved in so many ways. And you know, I think one of the biggest evolutions of art, or one of the biggest movements of art is we're talking pictures, you know, talking movies, right? It brought a whole dimension to what you could express and how you can express. And so for so many years, a lot of art had either been on stage and non-reproducible, right? But now we have, you know, 100-year-old movies that are still telling the same story and still causing the same types of controversies, from the movies of Oscar Michaud to the movies of, you know, Birth of a Nation. So whenever you are making art, do not be so stuck on just one form of art. Go ahead and explore those other ways of doing so. You have to realize that right now we're having this huge conversation about Afrofuturism, right? About Black people in the future. And this has been something that we've been talking about for years. You know, Blacks in science fiction has been a conversation that even W.D. Du Bois, a lot of people don't know, wrote science fiction, wrote a science fiction story. But Black Panther comes out, you know, and all of a sudden there's like this international conversation about Blacks and science fiction and Blacks in the future and Blacks and, you know, and the fantastic. And once you make art, as I said earlier, art is about creating reaction, right? And you want to create a reaction, but again, you want to create a reaction with as many people as possible. So you can go ahead and sit in your little, you know, corner, sit in your little studio and say, well, you know, this is the only kind of art that is real art. This is the only kind of art that counts. But if only 5 people are looking at your art, you've limited the amount of impact you can make, right? But if you say, you know what, I like to express my art in film. I like to express my art in music. I like to express my art even in video games. Oh my gosh, there have been some beautiful artistic video games that have come out, especially in the independent sphere, that really do a really great job of touching the person who's experiencing the art and changing their minds and changing the way they look at the world, but more importantly, creating conversations that get people to explore these ideas. Did you see that movie, or did you read that book? Did you see what happened? Yeah, what do you think about that? And those conversations are the ones that really make a lot of difference and start to get people to coalesce, as Jeff said earlier, around these unified ideas of what we want to say and what we want to do.
I don't believe in hierarchies in art. I mean, I don't believe that one form of art is higher than another. If I want to connect with any people, any audience, I have to use what I believe is going to connect with them. So as an artist who exhibits a lot, when I go to a particular gallery, particular community, there's programming I like to plan around the exhibition, in the classrooms, in the social spaces, etc. The first thing I do is find out what the needs of the community are. I don't show up and say, hey, this is what you need to know. I went to South Africa, I presented my work, but when I presented in South Africa, the first thing I said is, I am here to learn. I'm not here to tell you, I'm sharing the ideas that I have, but I really came here to learn what the issues are here, because I'm not from here, right? So, I don't believe that there's a necessarily any form of art that is higher than another. But I will say this though, as someone who really tries to advance my own level of art practice and my own skill sets, one of the things I found recently is I started DJing a few years ago. And the DJing, the music, I spin house music like almost 100% of the time. That's the joint. Yeah, if y'all know what house music is, y'all need to get up on house music. That
is where EDM came from.
Right, yeah, and techno and jungle and you know, all derivatives of disco, right? But when, you know, the way that house music moves the crowd is very different than when I'm showing art pieces on a wall, or when I'm creating a graphic novel, or when I'm reading a poetry piece, which I don't do enough of, right? So I'm still trying to figure out what is the best way to connect to a particular audience, to get across a particular message, right? So yeah, that's my answer for that. I don't believe that one is any higher than the other. I think that my son, I grew up drawing comic books. I loved comic books. My son didn't fall in love with comic books. He's an animator, right? And his impact, when I go into a room and I'm talking about my graphic novel, sometimes I'm not connecting to the young people because they're more into animation. And I've done that before. Then I started presenting on my son's work and they lost it. They were like, oh! And then my son walked in the room and he was a star, right? Like it's almost like I set up for him to walk in the room. Comics and animation, right? I was talking about comics, but the animation was the best way to connect to that particular audience. My son got all the questions. I did not in that particular case, right? No hating, you know?
I don't feel bad, man. I've been there before, yeah.
Right, you know? I hope that makes sense, though.
It does.